Welcome to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. I'm Dr. Amy Cooper Smith, a doctorate prepared nurse practitioner, and this show is about empowering you to live a radiant, healthy, and balanced life. I'm very excited to introduce today's guest, Debbie Harris, Integrative Nutrition Health Coach and certified hypnotist. She is the founder of the 30 to Life Solution and the author of Dieting Sucks for Women Over 40. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, and thank you, Amy. And one thing to add to that, which
Yes.
literally just happened a couple days ago, I'm now a certified menopause coach
Oh,
specialist as
perfect.
well. So, yes.
I
Yeah.
think we all need that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, great. So we'll talk about that too. But first, dieting sucks.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I did it for so many decades, starting at either 11 or 12.
Mm,
And it it's frustrating. It's restrictive. We play a lot of head games with ourselves. So there's a lot of blame. There's a lot of self recrimination. It's just, I mean, and when we're younger, we kind of, we'll do a diet,
mhm.
whatever happens to be, going around at the moment, and we'll take weight off, and inevitably it comes back, but then we'll take it off again, and it's when we get to midlife,
Yeah.
when we get to perimenopause, uh, all of a sudden what we did before may not work at all, and that is super, super frustrating.
Yes. I hear that every day. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't change my diet. I haven't changed my exercise, but I'm gaining weight. What's happening? And it's complicated.
Yeah, it is complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned starting dieting at age 11. So what's happening that we think at that age that we need to go on a diet?
Well, I was overweight. So and my relationship with food, or my dysfunction with food, if you will, started very early on, for reasons that I go through in my book. But this is what happens. Food, we build an emotional bond with food.
Mhm.
And depending on what that is, whether it's, we're eating because we're scared, we're eating because we want to feel comfortable, whatever it is, we're nervous, uh, we're angry, it carries with us. And what I'm working on with women, with midlife women, one of the things I work on is really finding peace with food. And it's a very complicated subject, because food is not something, as you know, that we can just go cold turkey. I mean, we're not going to just stop eating.
Right.
We're not talking about cigarettes. So we have to really look at our relationship with food. What is behind it? And then work from there. And then on top of all the hormonal changes happening in midlife, you're getting this 1-2 punch of, I don't know what is going on with my body, and this is what I always did, and now it's not working. So now I need a new plan. Let's take a look at my relationship with food.
Yeah, I see that a lot. And there's sometimes resistance. Somebody will come in for a weight loss plan, maybe because their doctor said they should, or their husband said they should, or something like that, and they can kind of become angry. Um, or even, okay, you said I can't have this ice cream, and now I'm mad at you. And it's very interesting to kind of
It
watch people go
is.
through that. Yeah.
And it's an interesting example you bring up, because my philosophy is that no food is a never food,
Hmm.
unless we're allergic to it. So I work and I teach an 80-20 lifestyle. Of course, at the beginning, the first 30 days of my program, you are restricting certain foods, because we really want to give the body a chance, the nervous system a chance to settle, to calm
Yeah.
down. So we're removing a lot of the foods that might cause sensitivity. But it's, as you know, it's so much more than that. It's diet culture that we grow up with. It's even now, when we think things have changed, every commercial, all the ads, everything we're told is that, we need to fix something.
Right.
And I call it the wrong map. I've actually written a little booklet called The Wrong Map, Ending the War with Your Body, because it just makes me nuts that women actually think they're broken. They get to midlife, they get to perimenopause or postmenopause, and it's this feeling that it's all downhill. I'm broken. What have I done wrong? Why am I failing? And it's none of that at all.
Yeah. So, what is going on when we get to that midlife point where things start changing?
Well, our hormones are
Yeah.
changing. Um, and it is very complex. And to keep it very simple, the sex hormones in particular are decreasing, estrogen and progesterone, testosterone at a slower level. Um, and the thing with the sex hormones is they affect almost every part of the body. So we start to see cortisol going up. We start to see that stress hormone that has a lot to do with the weight around the middle, changes in the way our body deals with blood sugar. And this is certainly stuff that you are probably much more in tune with than I am. And all of this perfect storm often does cause the weight, the excess weight, the hot flashes, the night sweats, the brain fog. We've now identified over 30 symptoms related to perimenopause, and more all the time. And the fact that perimenopause might start 5, 10, or more years before uh, before menopause or postmenopause. So it's complicated, and women are not being given the information that they need to really maneuver. I talk a lot about when I was young, I was probably 9 or 10. My mother brought home this little pink booklet. My brother had a blue one. Well, he was 3 years younger. And the pink booklet went through the whole menstruation process with, charts. And I'll never forget it because the whole emphasis of the book was, now you're becoming a woman.
Oh, yes.
Little did we know. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was involved with all that. But there's I got no booklet about perimenopause. I knew my mother had hot flashes because she was taking the train to work, the subway, but then we haven't been teaching each other. We haven't been discussing it. And in many cases, even still with a lot of the subjects, we're not discussing them with our healthcare providers, and we're not discussing them with each other.
Yeah. I think I've found that a lot of traditional providers are undertrained on perimenopause, especially. And especially there's no particular blood test where you can say, oh, you're in perimenopause, like, because it doesn't work that way. So I like, though, now we're talking about it more and people are educating themselves so that they say, oh, I think this is perimenopause. What can I do?
Yes, I agree with you. And you're absolutely right. Most healthcare practitioners are not trained. And this is something that, in fact, I'll be doing a TEDx at the end of May. And this is something I'm speaking about because we say, well, my doctor's not helping me, but your doctor is likely not trained.
Right.
And then, as you pointed out, women will say, well, I just want to check my estrogen levels. But a lot of doctors don't want to do that. The answer is, well, it's probably just menopause. So
It's just menopause. You'll get through it.
okay. So you're right. We are talking about it now more, but not enough. Women are still feeling a lot of shame related to intimacy issues with midlife, pelvic floor issues with midlife, things that are just starting to come out of the shadows.
Absolutely. In terms of how we can eat, what do we need to do differently as we enter this phase?
Well, first of all, I think this phase or any phase, eating healthier
Yeah.
is probably a good idea. Every woman is unique, so there is no single formula for
Hmm.
everybody. But we know enough now about making sure that we're eating actual food, not science experiments. So, fruit, vegetables, lean proteins. One of the things that I talk about all the time is, and I'm going to grab it right here, water.
Water.
Making
Yes.
sure that we're hydrating, that it's not just coffee all day. So, whole fruits and vegetables, your fiber, your grains, your water, making sure you're hydrated. And as I say, read the label on everything, because if you can't pronounce it, if it makes no sense to you, if nothing looks like a real food, then maybe make a better choice. It's not about restriction. It's not about saying, well, I can't have the foods that I like. You can learn to have the foods that you like and learn to have them occasionally so that they don't affect the balance you're trying to achieve with your body. But, some of the foods that have been convenience oriented foods, we know are not really the best choice.
Yeah, I think that's a big barrier for people, when they have to rely on convenience foods because they're busy. They don't have time to maybe prepare something healthy. So that's something we have to kind of help them navigate.
Yeah, it's I often have, and my husband is the cook in the house. I don't cook,
Oh, that's nice.
but yeah, but we'll almost every day have leftover steamed vegetables, whether it's carrots or cauliflower or broccoli or whatever, something you can instantly grab when you feel like, oh, you're opening the refrigerator and you don't even know why. It's just going, you're opening the refrigerator. That happens a lot in the afternoons. And if you're working at home, that goes back to the snack after school
Oh,
because your subconscious remembers that habit. So have something you can grab, berries, or you're right, because you don't even want to take the time to wash something. You want it right there. So yeah, there are ways, and you're right. The convenience is an issue. The other thing is availability and affordability. I
right.
mean, people ask, and I'm sure you get the same question: do I have to eat organic? Uh, my answer is there are certain things. There are certain things you should try to do organic if you can. Berries, things where you're eating the whole fruit or the
Yeah.
whole vegetable. But you're making choices about budget too. So no, the banana and the orange and the avocado, better it should be the broccoli and the cauliflower and tomatoes and strawberries. So I think it's the education process. It's people understanding, oh, I don't have to just overhaul everything that I'm doing. I need to make these little changes gradually over time.
Yeah. And I think there's a perception too. I've shared on previous shows, I used to work with a lower income population, but healthy eating was my thing. And they'd say, well, the healthy food is more expensive. And I'd say, well, the packaged healthy food, the quotes, is what's more expensive, but seasonal fruit, seasonal vegetables, and I know the price of groceries is going up right now, so I try to pay more attention when I'm in the store of, okay, I just bought, some sweet potatoes. Okay, that was $1. Um, and and I look and I'm like, that's, we can afford this. It's just, in addition to the affordability, a lot of people find that maybe those fresh ingredients would go bad or things like that. So there definitely are barriers for sure, but maybe not what
Yes,
we think.
there are, and you're right about, well, if I buy this and we don't eat it right away, then I might have to throw some of it out. And it's
Mhm.
also availability. So when you start putting everything together, maybe do I have to go a little bit further out of my way to get what I want? Um, those are challenges and those are struggles. And again, that's why women, we want to do it all. We want to do it what we think is right for ourselves, for our families, for our kids, grandkids, whatever the case may be. But you have to just start working towards it. And you meet yourself where you are and you do
Yes.
the best that you can. My program in my book is a full program. And the first 30 days, you are restricting things, 30 days only. But you can just as simply start changing one or two habits and progress that way. So, yeah, the other issue is movement. Um, I talk to a lot of midlife women who are exercising counterproductively
Mm.
to releasing weight. And
That is my second favorite topic, which is movement. But I am going to have everyone pause for a moment and don't go anywhere because we're going to talk about healthy movement when we come back from our break. You're listening to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. I'm Dr. Amy Cooper Smith, and my guest today is Debbie Harris. We were talking before the break about healthy eating, eating real food, and some of your program, which we're going to talk about some more. But right before the break, we were talking about healthy movement and what you're seeing go wrong.
yeah, I've worked with many women, and I've had those that are committed to high intensity exercising. And in midlife, this is not necessarily helping you. So to talk about it, in my 30 to Life Solution program, the first phase, the Balanced Warrior phase, where I said you are restricting certain foods, sugars, for example. Um, you also want to tone down the exercising. Walking, Pilates, bar class, yoga, any of this is great. But what's happening is we really are working to balance the cortisol, to really bring down the stress, to calm the central nervous system, if you will. And this high intensity exercise is going to spike your cortisol. Now, inherently, that isn't bad, but we're trying to balance. So, what often happens, and what I've seen happen over and over again, is women say, I don't get it, Deb. I'm following your program. I'm doing everything by the book. I'm working out 6 days a week. And I'm like,
There it
let's back
is.
up for a second. Because, and then when I explain the movement part and they change it, the weight just starts to release. So give your central nervous system a break for at least 30 days, if that is your goal, is to release weight. And just tone it down on the exercise. If you're lifting, do moderate lifting and don't add weight during that time. Go out for a walk or take a Pilates class. Just tone it down for a little bit.
Yeah, it seems so counterintuitive because we've always been taught eat less, move more. And if my 1 hour aerobics class isn't doing it anymore, I'm going to add a second one.
That's right.
And I see that so much. And then you're absolutely right about what that does to your cortisol. And it's very frustrating because you're like, what do I need to do? I'm working out 2 hours a day. And that's exactly, you need to work out less. It just, I still, even though this is what I do for a living, I still like somewhere in my mind, okay, I work out more. No,
Well, and the other part of the saying is also, it isn't eat less,
right.
because that's the other thing. I'll hear, well, I ate this, this, and this. I'm like, well, there's more food on the program than that. Yeah, but so again, I've had that conversation with women. We are so conditioned to eat less. If we eat less, then the weight's going to come off. Hey, listen, guys, I've done the lean cuisine Diet Coke diet,
Yep.
but I was in my 20s and 30s. First of all, not healthy to begin with. Second of all, it's not going to work now. And what we really, really want to do is learn how to come to our, what I call our ideal healthy weight. and stay there and still be able to enjoy life. That is the key.
Yeah, so maintenance is a really important part of the weight loss journey.
Yeah.
So what are some tips you give to people for maintaining?
Keep up the hydration. That's very important. And it's a tricky one. I found working with men and women, but we're focusing on women right now. The idea of getting in half your body weight in ounces every day, up to about 100 ounces, is a challenge. It's still a challenge for me. I have bottles of water all over my office, all over the car. Um, Set an alarm if you need to on your phone, on your watch, to remind you maybe once an hour, once a half an hour, to have a glass of water. And I'm not talking about the other cup of coffee or the other cup of tea. Um, Water. It does not have to be pH balanced. Your body doesn't really know what to do with that, so you don't need to spend the money on that. A good filtered water is fine. I keep refilling bottles from the tap. That's number one. Number two, keep up some form of movement. I walk every day with a weighted vest. I do 8 to 9 minutes of Tai Chi in the evening, but that's what I do. Whatever works for you, but be consistent with the movement. That's the main thing, and then pay attention to your trigger foods. What are those foods that you know that once you start eating them, there's no chance you're going to stop? For me, one of the examples is cashews. I mean, you put a bowl of cashews in front of me, and they're gone. In fact, the only time we ever buy nuts is if we're having company over. We get the big can, the mixed nuts. And then my husband will nudge me and say, "Stop picking out the cashews." So, and then when our guests leave, I give it to them because I simply can't have it in the house. So understand what your trigger foods are. First of all, what is going to inspire you to eat them? And then what are they? Those foods that, the Lay's potato chip, you can't just eat one. So those are a few things in the maintenance side of it.
Yeah, I like that you use the weighted vest. So a lot of my clients don't like to lift weights. It's not, they just don't enjoy it. And so it's, or it's hard to find time for that. And there's so much of an issue with muscle loss with aging. So that's something really easy to do
Yeah.
to help with weight bearing. So what are you seeing with muscle loss or more than that with your clients?
Well, again, once they're past the first phase, I'm encouraging them, if they're working with a trainer, if they're working with bands, if they're working with weights, a weighted vest, then I'm encouraging them to work on that. Now, again, women who have chosen to go the GLP-1 route, and I get asked about that all the time. I'm sure you do as well. One of the things that I point out is if you're doing that, you're doing it with a doctor. I mean, okay, what are you going to do next? I mean, are you going to take that forever? What about muscle loss? What are you going to do next if that's what's going on?
Absolutely. And, we always talk about the importance of keeping your muscle on your weight loss journey, because if you're just losing muscle, then that's no good for your health for many reasons. But absolutely, we have to adjust our eating style so that we're not going to just regain everything we work so hard to lose or
Right.
release.
Right. Well, and that's why I talked about, and I do write about and talk about the 80-20 lifestyle, because 80% of the time, if you're um, following whatever you consider healthy eating, and then 20% of the time, you really are going to allow yourself the flexibility to have those things that you want. But you're going to find that even if you weigh yourself and you're up a few pounds, once you're back to eating the 80%, your body will just simply, because it's usually excess water, you went out, you had more salt, more sugar, more alcohol, whatever it might be.
Yeah, and that's a good point about the water weight. To
Mm,
not have despair if you notice that little bump, but just get back on track, and then things
Yeah,
should take care of themselves.
yeah.
So you mentioned earlier about starting where you are and maybe taking smaller steps. So what would a small step be other than the drinking water and moving?
Well, other than drinking water and moving, as I said, excuse me, as I said before, maybe adding a fruit, maybe adding another serving of vegetable. Think about what your day looks like, what your week looks like as far as food. Is there some place we can crowd out one thing, maybe the French fries, and add a salad or add a vegetable? I mean, that simple step, if it's done consistently, can make a big difference.
Yeah.
Also, what you find is when you start doing that, you don't crave the other stuff as much. People would say, "Oh, I never realized how sweet a strawberry was, or how good, fresh broccoli was," because our taste buds get so used to all the sugar and salt and preservatives that we have.
Yeah, and I think after those 30 days of not having that sort of thing, your taste buds do have time to adjust and really enjoy real food.
Yes, absolutely. That's what you start to crave.
Yeah.
Yes.
So at the beginning of our show, you said you've been recently certified as a menopause coach.
Yeah.
What's involved with that?
It's a certification process that I went through, and I did it primarily for the education. I wanted to really dive into more of what was happening specifically in menopause. And interestingly enough, this course is actually written for personal trainers, of which I am not. But it was fascinating because in being written for personal trainers, it looked at it from the perspective of working out, of exercise. And one of the big areas was the pelvic floor challenges. So it was wonderful. And as I said, I just finished it. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, congratulations. That's really exciting. And
Thanks.
we need more people to talk about menopause and kind of
Yeah.
help us through, because it's even in my field, when I'm going through my own personal menopause journey, it's terrible. It's,
It is challenging. I mean, I say, women, you guys, I mean, you're not broken. You're becoming. And the other side is awesome. And I still occasionally get a hot flash, or the brain fog, forget. But, what did I come in here for? But it is frustrating, that feeling of rage, that feeling of mood swings, not sleeping. And not sleeping is really the biggie. And because we're not getting enough sleep and proper sleep, that impacts everything. So that now is becoming one of the biggest issues, is helping on sleep for women in midlife.
yep, and that affects everything from mental well-being to our weight as well.
Yep,
Imagine that.
absolutely. And if you're waking up every couple of hours and you're doing one of these, staring at the ceiling, and I remember, um, it's maddening. And then you are fatigued, and everything else just follows from that.
Yep. Well, we're just about out of time, but how can our listeners learn more about you and get your book?
They can get the book anywhere they buy books online. Dieting Sucks for Women Over 40, 30 to Life, the Ultimate Weight Loss and Hormone Balancing Solution. Follow me on Instagram. I'm all over social media. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see a way to get the wrong map. And you can always reach out to me too. I'm happy. My email is Debbie, DEBBIE, at 30tolife.org. That is 30 TOLIFE.org. Love to hear from people and your comments, your suggestions. And the only other thing I'd say is talk to each other. Um, and as I said, reach out to me. I am doing a TEDx at the end of May. I am deeply concerned that we need to get more training into our residency programs. And we have wonderful medical schools, but this needs to be a real subject.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your work and, spreading the word on all of it.
Thank you, Dr. Amy. It's fun.
And thanks to our listeners for tuning in to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. Do you have insights about today's show? Send me an email at radiantpodcast2025@gmail.com. Check out past episodes on YouTube, and we're also featured on Apple Podcasts and all your favorite platforms. I'll be back next Saturday morning at 7:30 with more expert insights and practical strategies to help you live a radiant and healthy life. Until then, here's to your best life.